This clip will cover WellSeeker export and import functionality within WellSeeker Pro. The function of a WellSeeker import and export is that you can take individual parts of a database, take that as a file and send it to someone else to import into their database. So if you wanted to send them the entire database, then you're better off backing up the database and sending it to someone. But if you want to send them a section of that database, whether it be a plan or a number of different wells, then you would use an export. First of all, within the File menu, we have some export-import options. Checkboxes are to export targets associated with a plan or actual well bore when you export, and another option to import those targets when you use the import function. Another set of options is WellSeeker import settings. This opens the import settings dialog, and this basically allows you that when you are importing an export file, you will be given the option to be met with a warning message saying that we have duplicates of an operator, a facility, or various different other tree components, and they'll ask you whether you want to override with the export files version or whether you want to keep your existing version. So those are the settings that WellSeeker on your computer uses to dictate how it treats export and import files. Another important factor to note is that export and import files only work 100% with your current version of WellSeeker. So if this version that you have within Help About WellSeeker is different to the person you're trying to send the export file to, then the functionality may not work, and that's due to differences in database structure between different versions. I'll show you a little bit at the end a way if you are running different versions and you can't get them running on the same version number. So we're assuming that you are running the same version number as the person you want to send data to, and that you've used the file option to set up your export file settings. Now, there's a couple of different scenarios for this. One is that you're on a rig and you're currently working on a well, and you want to send that well data back to the office. In this case, you would take the well that you want, right-click, import export, and hit export. This will allow you then to create an export file to a designated location, and you can then send that on an email. Okay, export successful. The other approximate scenario is that you're actually sat in the office, you've got a huge database with many wells in it, and you want to send either a portion of those wells to someone in a field or someone else using a database that you want to add these to. So in that case, you can select at the higher level, and that will export everything below that. Or if you want to, for example, in this case, we've got two plans and an actual well, but we only want to send the actual well and plan 2. You would right-click, import export, and go export multi-well. Now in this case, expand our tree, and then you can select what you actually want to export. So instead of exporting the whole thing below this level, we're only going to export the actual well, survey, and planned wellbore 2. Okay, so we've exported both a single well and selected individual wells from this database. Now to import that into another database. So I've created a new database already. So I'll go select database, example database 2. And to import an export file, simply right-click anywhere on the database tree, import, and we select. So in this case, I'm going to select the multi-well, the latter export that we created. Okay, so these are the warning messages I was telling you about from file setup. So if WellSeeker detects any duplicates of what's already in its database, i.e. in this case it's a coordinates reference system, it will ask you, do you want to overwrite that, or do you want to keep your existing version? In this case, I'm going to overwrite it with the version that's in the export file, and import successful. So now we can see that we've pulled in the 2 wells that we used for the multi-export. So that's the general use of import and export function for well seeker. There was the scenario where I said you are running a different version to the person you're trying to send an export file to, and that's not guaranteed to work. In this scenario, first of all, you try and update the versions so that they're the same. If that's not an option for whatever reason, then what you can do is you can go back to our original database. So if you wanted to export, say, those 2 wells again, but you can't send an export file, what you would do is you would go File, Backup Database, save it as example backup. So we've now saved the database file as a whole, and database files can be moved between any version of the software. So I'll select my database file. And what you would do is effectively create the same structure that you did in your export. So I'll delete the items from this backup database that I didn't want to send the new to the person running the different version of the software. And effectively we created the same structure as the export file, but this will work between different versions of the software. That completes the brief overview of import-export function within WellSeeker Pro.